In this episode, I'm going to show you how I find the right composition in Tuscany, Italy. Buongiorno, mesdames et messieurs. My name is Serge Ramelli. I am a French photographer from the beautiful, the amazing, the incredible, the romantic city of Paris, France. And I am back from 3 weeks of Italy, and I wanted to share with you guys some of the photos I got from Tuscany, how I retouched them, how I tried to frame them, the whole story. All right, don't forget to click here to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to click on the little bell so that you really get a notification every time a free video comes out. All right, so let's go to Italy, Tuscany, and let me show you what I got. All right, before we explore Tuscany together, I just want to remind you that if you go to my website, photosearch.com, and you click on my gear, if you're not a Creative Cloud member, you can, if you become a member of PhotoSearch community, which is free, you can get access to 20% off on Photoshop and Lightroom. That is $7.99 instead of $9.99, meaning for the price of 2 coffees at Starbucks, you have Photoshop and Lightroom and all the Creative Cloud member advantage and many things more. It's really the best deal there is to get that. All right, so I wanted to talk to you about Tuscany. I was passing by Tuscany. I had one sunset and one sunrise. And mesdames et messieurs, the force was with me because I had an amazing sunset and I had an amazing sunrise, which I spoke to the hotel. They were like, oh, we haven't had that in a few days. So I was really lucky. Anyway, so I had no idea where I was going. I've always saw this road in Tuscany where you have, these trees like this. And this was a complete backlit photo. I had to HDR it and do a lot of things to come up with this. I was not really happy with it. The subject is great. The light is kind of so-so. I took this before the sunset. And so then I took my car and I went all the way up this road because I can tell the sun was behind in this valley. So once I got behind the road, I started looking for the photo and it was really boring. I was trying to find like a subject, maybe like a leading line with the mountains, something that could make a cool photo. Now, I could tell that the sunset was going to be really cool because I like these high clouds and things like this, but the colors were still pretty boring. So I looked around, and when you do landscape, what's kind of really important is to get like at least a foreground, middle ground, background. You want to make sure you don't get a too busy foreground like this, for example, where you have a lot of like flowers or different herbs or trees or bushes. This is high frequency texture and it doesn't always come up with good photos. But anyways, I waited. I was still looking for my foreground element and I couldn't find it. I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to use this tree as a foreground element. And I moved around and the sun started coming down. The sunset started preparing. I was getting very excited. And then so I moved around and then suddenly from far away, I saw these little trees which are very common to Tuscany. So I moved closer to the trees and said, oh, I need to find a way to frame this, but this dead tree in front were not really nice. The sunset was starting to arrive. So I kept on moving around. I'm not going to show you everything. But eventually I came to this. This was kind of like the first photo I like. Now, this is, I shot this in HDR. So I've got different exposure. This is a normal. This is, I believe, the under, and this is the over photo. Usually what I do is, sometimes I decide to do an HDR with it, sometimes I don't. In this case, I don't because the sun was here on the left and there was no reason to go HDR. I rather have it than not have it. So what I do is I take the underexposed photo, the normal photo, and I do my usual workflow where I open up the shadows, I bring down the highlights. I'm going to do my white point holding the Option key, and I do that really fast, just to see if there is something there. Now it's already much better. I think I'm going to make it brighter. So I'm going to add some vibrance plus 41 and some saturation. And I still want to make the sky pretty cool. So I'm going to, go and do a graded filter as usual. I do this really fast. And I usually use presets to go even faster. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And I'm like, is this going to be a good photo or not? I mean, I don't like so much the fact that there is these little bushes. in the foreground. Let me play around with the white balance. I think I'm going to go to shade and add some, some color here. Yeah, it's not bad. I think I need to add some contrast, make it even brighter. We're starting to be somewhere. I'm going to crop the photo. I think there is too much sky, so I'm going to crop it. I want to make it much more panorama. Okay, that's already pretty cool. So I like this photo. Usually, if I can, I can fine tune it with the HSL, where I can add some more saturation in the reds and yellows. I can play around with my hue to make it even more red, even more orange, and I do that really fast. And I'm like, yeah, why not? Okay, I'm going to give it a 2-star. And then, so I'm going to press Command Shift C to put this retouching in memory. Command Shift C, but I'm not going to do the cropping. See, I'm not going to keep the cropping. I'm just going to copy that. And I just wanted to share my process, So then I kind of move further away, to have more. And I'm like, oh, that could be cool. Is this? And so I'm going to press Command. Oh, no, this is an HDR, sorry. This is an HDR that I tried. It's not bad, but I really don't like the bushes which is there. This is the original photo, so I'm going to press Command V with what we just did so far, the same retouching. Not bad, but I think I like this one more when I'm more zoomed in on the tree than this one. I think I shot this one at 108 millimeter, mesdames et messieurs, using the 24-40. So that's why sometimes it's good to be able to punch in and zoom in. A lot of people is asking me, what do I think of that 24-40 lens? I think it's awesome. Look how sharp this photo is at 108 millimeter, f10. I was on a tripod, of course. I really like this shot. I think it's better than this one because this one I was at 69 millimeter. I was wider, and now we have so much more attention on the bushes. For me, what makes a great landscape photo has everything to do with the foreground element. It is always easy to find a nice sunset. It is always easy to find a nice mountain. Now, what do you put in the foreground? I think these trees really make it. I wish. And there was no way for me to go in time in front of these bushes, so I didn't have that, and I should have done that, and I regret it. I might even go back there now. Anyways, and I will go back there. I mean, if you have not been to Tuscany, oh my God, it is so good. So I tried different things, different composition, but this bushes was always in the way. Let me show you in the overexposed photo so you can see. Yeah, that's some kind of retouching that I tried. I mean, I love this tree shape, so I really kept on shooting them, but I was always, annoyed by this. So, and then the sun started coming really down, and I was like, okay, why not? Pretty cool. I was still trying to find some other trees, and I think eventually I found some later on. Yeah, I found some later on. I found these trees. Yeah, that's the one that I found. This one I retouched it the same way. And I kind of like that because now I didn't have the bushes, and the sun got really red. I mean, I was like, I could not believe how red the sun was getting. Yes, it is very saturated, but believe me, it was a very, very, very strong, very strong sunset. And so this one is, it's actually a TIFF file because if you look at the original, that's the overexposed photo. That is the normal exposure, and that is the underexposure. So what I did is I think I probably used the normal exposed photo, and I just pressed Command V, to use what we did. So sometime when you have a different exposure, pressing Command V does not work at all. And this is an example. But, you can, I can right away just make the exposure darker. I can, or I can just click Reset and start over. So open the shadows, bring down the highlights, do my black, do my white, add some contrast. Find the right white balance. So let's see, what about cloudy? What about shade? Yeah, shade could do the trick, but then I'm losing all the blue in the sky. So what I usually do is I'm going to go for daylight. That's going to keep some blue. I like the idea of having some blue. And it was a big slope, so that's why it's kind of crooked. I'm going to do this like this. I'm going to crop it a little bit so that we see the trees better. Actually, maybe not that much. Maybe something like this, why it's not so crooked. Yes, and then I'm going to do the classic linear. Well, check this out. I'm going to go to exposure, not that much. I just want to minus a little bit the exposure, but I love the contrast of the red against the blue. And it was really like that. You know, a lot of people think that, you know, when you put too much saturation, you oversaturate your photo. I couldn't believe how red the red was, how blue the blue was. It was unbelievable. I mean, if you look at it, all I did was add contrast. I did not yet do any vibrance or saturation, and I might not even do it. Then what I did is I went into Photoshop and I erased all this, and then finally I got this photo at the end without the electric pole. And I really like that one because now we really got like these trees, which are the foreground element. We got the valley as a middle ground, and then we got the beautiful sunset as a background. So that was probably the best. That's another one that I got. That's the one before the retouching. That's the one I just showed you. You know, I tried different things like, oh, let's try to do like, you know, leading lines, but it didn't work because it's just the sun was too much on the right, and I thought that that path was not very good looking with all the rocks. So that's all I got. You know, probably the two best that I got. If I filter by one, the two best that I got was this one at the end of the day for the sunset, and this one for the very end of the sunset. So that's the best that I got. Let me show you to you in full screen. And you know, it's really all about waiting for the right light. It's really all about finding the right foreground element. And let me show you the other one in full screen so you can enjoy it. And as I said, if you have not been to Tuscany, do yourself a favor, go to Tuscany. I'm actually going to put the exact location I shot this photo under the link of this video. So if you ever go to Tuscany, you can do it. And you see this one is a mistake here. I have a tree that's right there. I shouldn't have that. So I'm going to crop it right away because you don't want anything that's, you know, sort of half in or half out. Okay, that's going to be a much better shot. It's probably my favorite. I think the very dark red one, you know, is a little too much for me. I really like this one with the little house there. Anyways, then I came for sunrise. Roughly, actually, I was looking in Tuscany and I didn't find it. I found it after sunrise. I was looking for the house they used in the movie Gladiator because I was really right there. And so it was sunrise. It was very early in the morning, like 6 a.m. And I started, you know, this is how it looked, you know. So we had the sun starting to come up. The problem is that the sun was still behind the valley. So the sky was very bright, but the valley was very dark. So there was no third dimension. Anyways, what I did is I still, you know, said, why not try something with an HDR? So this is the normal photo. That is the overexposed photo, and that's the underexposed. What I did is I selected all three, right-click, photo merge HDR, and I tried to, you know, see if I could, you know, do something with the HDR. So all I did is I left the default option, which is auto-align, and deghost amount to none, because deghosting is really when you have moving elements, which was not the case. So I clicked on merge, but I've already done it, and here's the result. So that's my super HDR raw file. And so same workflow, I'm going to put up the shadows. But you see, when you work on an HDR and you put up a shadow, it's crazy. You got so much details, and it's not noisy at all. You know, there's no noise because it's taking this from the overexposed photo. I can bring down the highlights, and I do my black and my white. And on this photo, I really had a problem because I think that the sky is very warm and the bottom is like green, but it lacks of color. So what I did is I usually, because I really wanted the green to come out, so I thought, why not add some green? But then if you add some green, it adds some greens in the sky, and I don't like it. So what you can do when you got like two white balance like this, you can take the linear tool, and you can go here to tint, and you add the green just in the bottom and not on the top. So because the bottom was in a shadow, I mean, there is no, it needs like some dodge and burning to, you know, for it to come out. Or you can just wait for the sun to pick, which eventually what I did. So for the bottom, I would probably add some, a bit of dehaze and minus clarity, something like this, you know. So that was the photo. I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. I think, well, I went too much on the greens here. I was really not happy with this photo because, not so much green, just a little bit of green. Just because, you know, when the sun is not peeking out from the valley, you don't have any shape. You know, it's the shadows and the highlight that makes the shape. So then I waited, and finally the sun came up. So let me show you what it started to look like. Yeah, so I'm going to filter this by one just for this one. So what it did is, I mean, it's not a bad photo, but I wanted the sun to come, because when the sun starts coming, then, you know, we have different shapes happening. And I spotted there was a lonely tree. So I had this idea of doing a pano. So I took one photo at 75 millimeter, another one at 75 millimeter with the same settings, another one at 75 millimeter, and I went the whole way to the sun that was speaking. But I didn't want the sun to be in my frame, because if you have the sun in your frame, sometimes it can be too much. It just makes a big yellow thing, not so nice. So then I select all three photos, I go edit, photo merge, panorama. And I'm going to try to make a panorama out of this. So here we are. The options are pretty simple. So you got, you know, different projections, different ways to make your pano. This is, you know, pure, you know, raw files, which is really cool. I think perspective is probably not going to work on this one, because it does work actually. Oh, perspective is not so bad. I'm going to go bond rewrap. I like the idea of the small tree, and I'm going to click on merge. The raw file on retouch. So I think it's really worth it to get it in the morning. And I'm going to open up the shadows, bring on the highlights. So on this one, you know what? So when the sun is here, I don't like this. I don't want the sun to be so definite. So I rather bring down a little bit this and bring down a bit that, because sometimes I think it's nicer to have like this completely blown away than to see a definite sun. That's just what I think. And I'm going to do some blacks to put back some contrast and some white. The sky is completely burned, but that's totally fine by me. And then just play around with the white balance to see if I go toward the green. I think it's nicer because it's very green. And maybe just add a bit of contrast, you know, and voila, I really like this one. That was a cool pano of a lonely tree. And let's move further. Oh yeah, there's another one I really liked. So it's all about trying to find an element. I was always trying to find like something, some formation of trees. And finally, I came across something that really reminded me of the movie Gladiator, which is, let me see here. Voila. You know, I love this tree formation here. It's you know, it's very hazy. There is not so much shape, but I like the fact that it's very hazy here and not hazy there. So same thing, you know, gently open up the shadows. Not completely on this one, maybe bring down the highlights, do a bit of black and white to bring some contrast. Now maybe add some green or not. I think on this one I added a lot of yellow, and I went for a bit like a desaturated look on this one, I think. Yeah, something like this. I wanted a bit of a desaturated look. And then the trees are too small, so I'm going to really crop them so they're along the rule of third, you know. Something like this, we can see the tree better, you know. You have to sort of, you know, zoom in on to what you want. And I think I'm going to add a bit more contrast on this one. And white balance, I'm not sure if, yeah, maybe it goes toward the greens or the. No, I think on this one I went a bit, you know, hot on the thing. But I really like the fact that we could see that, and you know, maybe do a bit of a gradient here to make this a little darker, not so much. And on the other end here, go the opposite. You know, add some light, so we really have some sort of, you know, haze. And the sun was coming from over there, so. Sometimes what you can also do is take a little radial circle, make it really big, you know, invert the mask, add some exposure, add some yellow, and put it outside there just to sort of put more emphasis on the sun. I wanted to get like a sort of a high key look for this photo. Okay, so that's kind of cool. I'm going to keep this one. And that's the last one I'm going to show you. It's one of my favorite because it's kind of like the lonely tree that's right there. So on this one, I think I'm just going to open up the shadows, bring down the highlights, not completely, do my black, white. I really want to zoom in on that tree and put it like in a sort of the rule of third. You know, this is what we call like a golden triangle. So it's really right there. I think it works pretty well. And maybe adds some contrast. This one I went really green with it. I really wanted green and maybe just desaturate a little bit. So we have some green. And same thing here. I think on this one I added on the top a little bit of positive exposure, even a little bit of minus the haze, just a little bit so that we have even more haze, and the reverse for the bottom. So minus exposure and a little bit of the haze the other way so that we see a little bit better, you know. Something like this. Yeah, I really like it. I don't know, I like this idea of this like one lonely tree in Tuscany. You know, I think it's a cool shot. And all these photos is really well on 500px. I was really happy. And I'm going to give you a little bit of free raw file so you can play around with it and see for yourself. And I hope you do go to Tuscany. Check out the link, the Google Map link, so I'll show you exactly where I was. And voila. I'm also very excited because I'm working on a new Photoshop course because I haven't updated my Photoshop course for years. And I'm doing a new Photoshop course for photographer coming up in a week or two. And I've been, you know, doing photos of national parks and Tuscany in Italy, getting the best of the photo possible for that course, coming out very soon. I hope you like this, guys. I hope you are going to take a flight straight to Tuscany after seeing this, and I will see you in another video. All right, guys, I hope you like this video, and if you do, don't forget to click the like button on this video. It really helps me a lot. Also, if there is tutorials you want me to do, leave a comment, and I will do my best to fulfill your wishes. Mesdames et messieurs, arrivederci.